Hi guys, welcome to the Board Sailor. I'm your host Avi, and welcome to the very first episode of the Colored Conversation. Now, the purpose of this segment, and I'm hoping that I can have many more conversations like this, is to create a sense of dialogue, is to create a sense of awareness regarding worldly events and worldly matters. And there is no better topic to talk about today than the Black Lives Movement that is happening all across the United States, sparked by the deaths of Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, and especially George Floyd. There are peaceful demonstrations, there are peaceful protests happening all across the United States. I fully support it, but I also feel that regardless of my support, I am still an outsider being a person of brown color. Though I have had my fair share of racial discriminations and racial bias, it is nothing compared to what people of the African American community go through on a day to day basis and have been going through for decades and centuries. So, I basically wanted to start this segment by inviting one of my friends of African American descent. He was my supervisor at one of my previous jobs. I call him Mansur. People who know him call him Mansur. He has a Facebook page called Agree to Disagree, where he uploads videos and has podcasts with fellow men and women of the African American community talking about issues, you know, that their people go through on a regular basis. But with everything happening with the Black Lives Movement, I wanted to have a conversation with him over a Zoom call, trying to get his perspective, on everything that's happening, what he thinks about it, what is right, what is wrong, what could be a better solution. But before I start the video, I wanted to make a quick public service announcement, not just for this video, but every video that I make on the Colored Conversation segment is please be respectful. Some of the conversations might not be something that you would like to hear. Some of the conversations or some of the opinions expressed in these calls that I have, you might not agree with them, and you are absolutely entitled to your opinions. You have that right. And if you do choose to express your disagreement, if you do choose to express your opinion in the comments down below, the only thing I request is please be respectful, not just to me, to this channel, to the guest that comes, on these Zoom calls with me, but also to the other commentators on the channel. If someone comments on something and you don't like it, you disagree, please be respectful when you express the disagreement. Because again, the whole purpose of this segment, one of the intents of this entire channel, is to create a sense of dialogue, is to create a sense of conversation so that we all see the different ideologies, the different perspectives, the different opinions people have, and probably try to find common grounds, especially when it comes to having a disagreement. So be kind, be respectful, please be considerate to one another's opinions. I hope through all of this we can find a way to not only better society but also better ourselves as individuals. So, without wasting any further ado, here is the very first episode of the Colored Conversation featuring special guest Mansur. No, but yeah, I made an intro video where I explained who you are, how we know each other.
Okay,
You were my
cool.
supervisor and everything. Uh,
Nice, nice.
and yeah, I mean, I was telling in that video, like how I feel like I'm an outsider in this entire thing. Because,
hmm
no matter what, I still have like an outsider's perspective, even though like people make racist comments towards me. It's still like
hmm
I was telling them about what happened yesterday, and I mentioned that what
Yeah,
happened to me happened over a span of like 5 minutes, and it affected me maybe like a day. But what happens to like the African American community, it's always, it keeps happening over and over again. And
right.
I was telling them, like, if when you go to the doctor's office, they give you like a chart and they say rate your pain on a scale of 1 to 10. What I experienced
Right.
yesterday was like a point 0.5, but what you guys experience is like a 9 or a 10 because it's just so bad. Um,
Yeah.
like on my drive to New York, I had to go through the Brooklyn Bridge, and that was like 5 o'clock. Um,
Hmm.
my GPS suddenly said there's a crash in Brooklyn Bridge, and I was like, no. But what the cops had done was they like blocked off the like the access to Brooklyn Bridge for cars,
Hmm.
but you could see just people just walk. Like there were so many people. Like I told my dad, like, oh, video call Marina because she needs to see this. But yeah, like what is your take on everything that's happening? Like, from your perspective.
I mean, all right, man. Well, first off, it's everything is just crazy how everything is has happened, but at the same time, it's like this is just the result of people being tired and frustrated with unarmed black men and women being killed, and nothing is being done about it.
Mhm.
Nothing is changing, and I think that the George Floyd situation was just kind of like the tipping point. I mean, and for one, it was recorded. You could hear him saying, "I can't breathe." You can hear him calling for his mother. I mean, I mean, just being a human being, if that doesn't like hit you in the heart there, like I don't know what will. And and the George Floyd thing, I mean, that's one. You also got the Ahmaud Arbery situation where they basically chased him down. Breonna Taylor babysitting got shot
Yeah, I was I s-
inside her own home.
yeah, I saw the Ahmad Arbery video, and I just couldn't like believe, like, uh it's just like, because with George Floyd, it was cops, it was like authoritative figures,
Right,
but with Ahmad Arbery, there were civilians. Like, it's
right.
just that's part shocked me even more. Like, okay, you might suspect him, of like breaking into that house or whatever. You call the cops. You just don't take matters into your own hands and, chase him down and just do it that way. Because I don't know, because I was telling Marina the other day, like how you mentioned, like, people are just tired of this now. You know,
Yeah.
it's like, I was telling, like, in military terms, it's like PTSD. Every
Right.
time, you know, an event like this happens and an innocent person gets killed with, unarmed, it's like it takes you back to like the 1910s and the 1920s, when
Mhm.
black people were basically second class citizens. It takes
Mhm.
people back to that time, and it's just, not just like, we're all just tired of seeing that, just that
Right.
inequality. So
Mhm.
um
I, I mean, you got to think Jim Crow wasn't that long ago. You know what I
mhm.
mean? My parents were alive when Jim Crow was still in existence. So,
Yeah,
you
it's, as much as we want to think that we live like in an advanced society and we're more educated and knowledgeable than our ancestors are, it's also a shame that we still have those same biases and prejudices that they were experiencing during their
right,
times.
right.
um it's, I mean, uh the other thing, like, I realized it yesterday, and I was thinking to myself, like, you especially fall in a special bracket because not only are you African American, but you're also a Muslim. So
Yes. Hmm.
you are discriminated not just by the color of your skin, but also by
Yeah.
your religion.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
like a double whammy. Like, if
Yeah.
you
My,
take it,
my 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 joke is like I'm a black Muslim man. Like I'm probably like the most hated person in the world. And I'm American. So people hate me because I'm American. People hate me
yeah,
because I'm black. People hate me because I'm Muslim. So it's like,
like it's like, you make a Venn diagram, and you're
right,
in that middle, that fits
right.
all three categories. But
All three categories.
it's,
So it's
but
like,
no, like, what is your experience being, like what you said, like a black Muslim? Like,
mhm.
what is your day-to-day experience like when you see, like, not just people of your community, being unjustly, treated, but also at the same time, but your religion also is like so targeted. It's like so,
Right.
volatile in America.
Right. Uh, you know, it definitely gives me another perspective, and being that I'm black and I'm Muslim, it lets me also sympathize with other people's issues. You, like you were mentioning before, even as an Asian, like you have your own issues and racism that you face, and being Muslim, like that makes me sympathize because all the Muslims over in
Hmm.
Asia, Middle East, you know what I mean? I can so sympathize with what they're going through and the issues that they have. So it just gives me the ability to just really, think about everything, all the different types of discrimination, and just be able to take it all in. And growing up that way, you just got to deal with it, man. Just gotta live with it.
Well, growing up, what do you like? Because you're a father, you're a parent.
Yes. Hmm.
With everything that's happening, what is the conversation that you have with your kids? How do you tell them that inequality exists in today's world, even though you are going to school, with kids of other races, with kids of other religion, you know like you go to like social events or like social settings like movie theaters or malls, and everybody's same, everybody's treated the same. But
Right.
there's this silent discrimination that is becoming more and more visible. Like, what is the conversation that you have with your kids?
All right. So my kids are still young. They're nine. They're nine now. But basically, right now, I'm just trying to teach them. You know what I mean? Not to think more positively, because I don't want them to have hatred in their heart, because I see a lot of people going in these protests saying like F the police,
Hmm.
or they now they just hate white people, you know what I mean. And you know what I mean, I got to get them to realize, look, man, one, there's some bad people out there. Yes, racists do exist, but not everyone is bad. Once they get older and they're out and they're driving by themselves and things of that nature, yeah, I'm gonna really have to have a conversation about, look, how you interact with the police. You
Hmm.
know what I mean? Like, don't make any sudden movements. Keep your hands on the wheel at all times. You know what I mean? And it's sad that we gotta have that conversation. And it's sad that we gotta have that conversation, man. But you know what I mean? That's the thing. Like we that's what we gotta fear for. It's like, look, you gotta be careful. Because you look at Felipe Castillo.
Hmm.
He told the cop, he said, "Look, I got a gun in the car. You know what I mean? Let him know out the gate." And then the guy asked for his ID. He went to reach for his ID. The guy shot him. It's crazy. Because I mean, it sounds like he obeyed the law, but it's the thing is, it's like, man, even if you, they say, because what's the argument is like, oh, you should have been cooperative. Even
Yeah.
if you cooperate, they still might shoot you. So it's it's tough, man. It's tough. I mean, you could be not doing anything, minding your own business, and
Yo,
it could still be your last day.
yeah, one thing like I tell people is like when they say, oh, like racism doesn't exist or it's just like a myth. I use the I bring that point where recently, I think a month ago in Texas, they had white people basically with guns and everything go to like the federal buildings asking that the state be reopened, and they were demanding like their politicians and their constituents to basically open the state. And they were
Right.
like armed in military gear with with guns and everything.
Yep.
So I ask people like, what if African American people, what if Indians did the exact same thing? as citizens of the United States, what if you and I today, with our group, with our people, you know, had military vests, had automatic assault rifles, and we stood in front of a government building? Would people perceive us the same way? Would people
Oh,
give
definitely,
us, the
definitely not.
liberty to freedom and the freedom to express ourselves?
Well, I'll say look no further than the Black Panthers, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you look at them, they were considered militant, right? They believed in arming up. But if you look, go try to find uh, a news clipping about Black Panthers killing people. You're going to be hard pressed to find anything about Black Panthers killing cops or going down and killing white men. They just believed in protecting
Mm-hmm.
themselves. They did not believe in that, but they were labeled as militant. And there's a whole thing about how the FBI infiltrated and completely had them dismantled, um, uh, because they were afraid of some kind of violent protest. So, I mean, yeah, we can look at that as an example. I mean, they and there's evidence of the cops killing Black Panthers,
Mm-hmm.
even though they called them violent. But then, I mean, you can look up the story about Fred Hampton,
Okay.
busted in his apartment, shot up the whole place. And Fred Hampton was a could have been the next Malcolm X, and now he's dead. So, I mean, that to me that makes it clear what would have happened if like you said, Indian people or Black people try to
Yeah.
militarize
Hey,
up.
I don't think I'll be able to even make it to the corner of the street before I get shot. So, forget about like marching somewhere.
So yeah, man, there's interesting videos out there, man, where they have a white man walking down the street, rifle on his back, walking down, doesn't experience issues. Get a Black guy to do the same thing. Cops come out, guns
Yeah.
drawn, get on the gun, get on the ground, get on the ground. So so I mean, if you see stuff like that, you can't tell me that racism doesn't exist. It does.